Hello and welcome to Erik Bank. My name is Klas Palin and I'm an equity analyst at the bank covering the life science sector. Today I have the privilege to interview Initiator Pharma CEO Claus Elsborg Olesen. Very welcome.
Thank you very much.
And the reason for having you today is that you have released a final analysis of the phase 1 data for IPTN 2021.
Yeah.
Maybe you could give us more information.
Yeah. So a little bit on the background of the drug that we're using in the IPTN21 program is the IP 2015 compound that we're also using in organic erectile dysfunction. When we acquired the compound, the asset back in the day, there was actually an extensive data package supporting that it provided good pain relief. It was matched against duloxetine and other pain agents in various models, and we could see that there was actually a good pain relief profile of this compound. So we thought it would be really nice trying to expand the scope of the compound 2015 to show that also this is something that can be translated into the clinical setting, so actually providing pain relief to patients. What we started out doing, we started out with what we call a healthy volunteer study where we recruited 24 men and we actually induced pain with an intradermal injection of capsaicin, the active pharmaceutical ingredient in chili. And then we ran a whole test battery of various pain assays on them, trying to look at both hyperalgesia pain and also allodynia, and trying to get an assessment, how is the function of our compound providing pain relief? Of course, this is, you can say, somewhat an artificial setting because it is healthy volunteers and you induce a pain in these patients. But it's a good way to understand what we call the PK-PD relationship. So how long time is the compound in the blood? And over time, when you start seeing a clearance of the compound, what is actually triggering and what pains are disappearing first? Or you can say what pain reliefs are disappearing first. So for us, this is a proof of concept study, trying to make sure that what we saw in the preclinical animal models actually can be translated into the human setting. And therefore we are very excited that we can confirm the results that top-line results we came out and published in May. And also now have looked more into that there is a good relationship with what we call PK-PD relationship that we can also use in design of future clinical trials.
And maybe you can describe a little bit further about the pain model that you have been looking into.
So you can say that some of the pain models that we have, one is called the formalin model, where you induce pain by injecting a substance into the leg of a rat, and then you kind of measure how much we did various tests, how much can you push it before it hurts and how much before it retracts from a pin, from a needle prick and so on. And there's various models that we have used here, and these are, you can say, standard models for understanding, various kinds of pain. So both neuropathic pain, but also more general pain assessments. And you can say that what we now have with that package, we said, okay, how can we actually position this best going into the clinic? And there we can say, since it's not been administered in any pain setting, we needed to understand what is this. And you can say with the allodynia pain, where we came out with a statistical significance on the p-value, we saw that this was really interesting because this is one of the pains where you can say that something that normally shouldn't give you a pain suddenly gives you a very severe pain. Just like we see in the trigeminal neuralgia patients where either a breath of wind or a feather or light touch in your face when you brush your teeth is enough to induce a lot of pain. So really strong allodynia data. But we could also see that on the hyperalgesia, we were very close to obtain statistical significance. We had a p-value of 0.051, so very close.
Pretty close.
And you can say that in this setting, you can say it's really nice to get p-values, but trends is also very good because we see some variation. And with 24 healthy subjects joining this trial, you can say that we don't have the power in all the assessments that we have. For example, some of the assessment score, we saw that there was a 2 to 5-fold efficacy, but there was just too much variation to really get a statistical significance on this, on the means, sorry. So here again, you can say that this is all supportive that we actually have a compound, and in this study, you can say that on the technical side, we had 2 doses of our compound. We had a placebo, and then we had pregabalin, a very well-known Pfizer product that has been sold in both as an anticonvulsant, but also in neuropathic pains for many years and have been a blockbuster drug for many, many years. And you can say this is our first go in a capsaicin model, and we can actually see that we matched pregabalin in many of these reliefs. And actually, we actually beat them in some of them. You can say where we have the p-value and they do not. So this is really exciting. I think that you take something that has been administered for years, that we exactly know, how we need to dose, and then we take, you can say, a first go with our 2015 compound and go in and look for what relief can we obtain. So really exciting for us and really good for the future of the 2015 program.
Yeah, and congratulations. Yeah. Seems very good. And could you perhaps describe a little bit about the next step now?
Yeah, you can say that what the next step that we need to do, of course, now we're generating in healthy volunteers. Now we want to go into the actual patients. And there's you can say that, of course, this is going to be more difficult because patients have, maybe even more pain. But there's also something that's going to be even, better, you can say, because when you go in and you treat the monoamine levels, healthy volunteers, they have a normal monoamine levels. They have a normal balance of these. So you can say that when you go into some of the pains, you can say the chronic neuropathic pains like trigeminal, where we believe that there's a lack of homeostasis of the monoamines. Here we could actually do something that actually provides meaningful relief. So to go into to TN patient groups, we want to do kind of like what we suggested before. We're still looking to do a smaller pilot trial, a proof of concept trial with 20 to 30 patients. We're still discussing how big that should be exactly. And then we want to be giving it multiple dosings. Okay. And in order to enable us to do that, we need to complete the MAD study for the 2015 compound. And this is work that we are ongoing now, that as soon as we have that data, then we are in a position where we can file, an application and go into a trigeminal neuralgia.
And the dosing in the next step, would that be the doses that you studied in the phase 1 study, would that be relevant in the next part as well?
Yeah, and yes it is, but you can say what we have done now in this study, it's a single dose. Yeah. And so now we need to go back and do multiple dose or daily dose.
But the level will be...
Yeah, potentially it could be even smaller, because when we go into the MAD study and we see, we get the steady state of the compound, we might be in a situation where we can actually see that we know there's a dose dependence on effect, but when you get to a steady state, you have a certain volume of compound all the time, amount in your blood. So we believe that this will be around the same dose or a little bit lower.
Okay. So. Great. And what could be the timetable?
So the timetable is that we have now finished the work on the formulation of the IP 2015, and then we need to do the MAD study. We envision that we can start the MAD study later this year, and it will take us a couple of quarters to complete and get the final report out. But in the meantime, we are not going to be on standby for the TN. We are doing a lot of outreach to KOLs, to patients' organization, trying to understand what is the segment of patients that we want to include in this trial. Trigeminal neuralgia is a general big broad saying that's just patients, but you can say roughly speaking we have the episodic patients and we have the chronic patients, so we need to find out which patient segment is most likely to benefit from ours. Also, which ones are the easy ones to perform a trial with, and this is something we are looking into now. We're also looking into, is there any difficulties with these patients, because it is such a severe patient. So we have always suggested to do a crossover study. But can we, is this something we can design, with the pain being so severe? What will happen if they are on placebo and they get? So this is something that we are considering and trying to design the best clinical trial, where we actually get, you can say, where we have some kind of control of the patients that we get in. So we kind of know that they have a little bit the same phenotype. So when we start treating, we could actually see a meaningful difference.
Sounds very good. And maybe you just could remind us a little bit about the commercial attractiveness in this indication.
Yeah, so you can say in trigeminal neuralgia, there's only one approved pharmacological treatment, and that's carbamazepine, which is an old anticonvulsant back from the 50s. And one of these grandfathered historic FDA-approved drugs, it has so many side effects that most patients don't rely on that. Also, we also see that about 50% of patients do not respond. So we spoke to KOLs, they say maximum up to about 30% can be maintained on carbamazepine. So here we can say that we would actually be a new thing, will be something new for the patients, a new pharmacological treatment. So we'll get a unique positioning in that way that we can bring pain relief to these patients if successful in the trial. Again, enabling us to take a significant portion of the market. There's around 200,000 patients in the US. So it's a fairly large market for this indication, and you can say can we segment that out into smaller, and is there a specific group in this that could benefit even more, so they could be potentially the first line of treatment? And this is something data will support and show. Yeah. But definitely it is what we can say in the first peak revenue calculations we did, we are looking between peak sales of $6 to $1 billion US. So it is significant.
Yeah, a very huge potential. Yeah. And you have 2 other clinical compounds with trials ongoing. And you are also evaluating another compound. Could you perhaps tell us a little bit about the news flow we could expect from Initiator in the coming 12 months? So
let's start with the 2 ongoing clinical trials. So we have the phase 2B with the IP 2015 trial in organic erectile dysfunction with 120 patients. So we're going to complete the dosing this year. That has been what we have said we're coming out with. We see patient recruitment is going well. We still see that there is, the COVID is making it tough. It's not like the old days. We still need to work hard to get in. And we also expect to complete the IP 2018 trial in the near future. So these are, you can say, that going on. We will assess it as we go along to make sure that we can meet the timelines that we have said that we would, and then we'll come back if we have any updates here. But these are 2 really pivotal readouts. You can say the phase 2B in 120 patients. And now we look at the real endpoint, the endpoint of the IIEF score. So this is the International Index of Erection Function, and this is what also is the endpoint in a future registration trial of this compound. And this is again the 15 questions relating both to the physical ability to perform an intercourse, but also to, do you reach the climax, do you get aroused doing the exercise, and also do you get ejaculations and so on. So this is really exciting. It's going to be it's really building the company's future here with that readout. You can see on the IP 2018 trial, we are running along with that, and that's, again, we can say a proof of concept that we can treat these psychogenic patients. So it's a little bit of a smaller trial, 24 patients, 2 dose levels and a placebo. So a little bit what we did originally for the 2015 compound. So here again, we hope that we will demonstrate in this trial that we have efficacy in these psychogenic ED patients. And then we'll use that data again, now with 2 dose levels, to find out how do we proceed into a larger study to do that. So really exciting things coming up over the next period of time. On the evaluation of assets, you can say that we are continually evaluating a lot of assets, but we have announced the evaluation of the phase 2B3 ready assets. That's still ongoing. We are looking at, as I mentioned a time before, we're looking at the 4 criteria that we think is important. Is it, do we know the target? Do we know that does it provide relief to the patient? Is it commercially attractive? And also, are we able or capable of running a design, a clinical study that would allow us to demonstrate that, to create the most value for the company and for the shareholders? So these are things that are all taken into account when we evaluate it. And it's ongoing, and we have the option expires at the end of the year, so we still have good time to take the final decision. We don't want to just put money around. It's a tough market out there right now, so we want to spend our money wisely. And right now, with the recent financing, we have money into mid-24, and we don't want to waste that or burn that timeline by taking in projects that is not something we believe that can create value.
Yeah, it sounds very sound. Thank you so much, Klaus.
Yeah. Thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you. Appreciate it.